What is going on, everybody? Welcome to another episode of the Philly Faithful Podcast, your daily one stop shop for all news, updates, and opinions on your Philadelphia Phillies. My name is Troy. I am your host on this podcast. You can find me on socials at Troy B Baseball. You can follow the show on socials at Philly Faith Pod, spelled just like the podcast. Make sure you give us that 5-star rating on Spotify so this show can be shown to more Phillies fans just like you. And if you're watching on YouTube, give us a like and give us a subscribe so you can be notified when more episodes drop every day. But we're going to jump right into it. We're going to first talk about the only game last night, and it is the one that had implications on the Phillies for the remainder of the playoffs, and that is the Mets at the Brewers. Game 3 of their National League wild card series. The Mets came from behind to win it. It was scoreless until the 7th inning. The Brewers got back-to-back home runs from Jake Bauers and Sal Frelick to take a 2-0 lead. And then in the 9th inning, with Devin Williams on the mound, the Mets were able to come back and put 4 on the board and complete the victory and the series victory with a 4-2 win over the Brewers. So what that means for the Phillies is that the Phillies now get to face the New York Mets starting tomorrow. First game is at 4:08 p.m. Eastern. It's going to be on Big Fox. So make sure you have it on your calendar so you can be prepped and ready, have everything you need to watch game 1 of your Philadelphia Phillies in the National League Division Series against the New York Mets. Our starter for game 1 will be Zach Wheeler. The Mets have not announced their starter yet, but we should find that out at some point today who their starter will be. And when we do, we'll have another podcast on it tomorrow, and I'll break down how the Phillies fared against that starter this season. But big takeaways from yesterday's game: the Mets went 5 for 32 in yesterday's game. They only had 2 hits entering the 9th inning, and both of them were from Francisco Lindor. They drew 1 walk. Alonso hit that go-ahead home run in the 8th, and a post from John Boy came out sometime between the end of the game and right now, and it was breaking down. Apparently, Devin Williams was tipping his pitches. I have not watched that video. I have not had time to watch that video because I didn't see it until this morning. But apparently, Devin Williams was tipping his pitches. So, it took that for the Mets to come from behind and win. And I did the national podcast First Pitch with Lindsey Crosby this morning, and we talked about this game. We talked about it in a lot of depth. So if you want to hear that conversation, go check out the First Pitch podcast. But Devin Williams has faced 967, I want to say, batters. Lindsey had the stat. It throughout his career, and Alonso's home run in the 9th inning last night, and that 967 batters, including the postseason. Alonso's home run in the 9th inning last night was the first opposite field home run allowed by Devin Williams in his pitching career, and only the 7th home run allowed to a right-handed batter, which is just absolutely insane. And it was clear to see that Devin Williams did not have it last night. He could have been tipping his pitches. I can't speak for certain on that, but he did not have it last night. You could tell from the first couple of plate appearances, even before Alonso came to bat, that Devin Williams did not have it. He was wild. He was all over the place, and he just was not locating his pitches as well as he normally does. And that's not. You don't like to see that against with Devin Williams. Devin Williams is one of the best relievers in the game. He's right up there with Emmanuel Clase for the Cleveland Guardians of how good he is. And he did not have it last night. And the Mets were able to capitalize when the Brewers were not able to capitalize when Edwin Diaz came in for the Mets, and he did not have it. I think he went 2 innings. And he clearly did not have it. He was wild. He was everywhere. And the Brewers just were not able to capitalize on that. The Brewers went 7 for 33 in the game yesterday, 3 walks. The Mets went 2 for 7 with runners in scoring position, and both of those hits came in the 9th inning. The Brewers went 0 for 9 with runners in scoring position. So like we talked about in yesterday's pod, that was just a theme throughout the series. Both teams were not able to hit with runners in scoring position throughout the series, and it's just I mean, that's kind of weak baseball. You got to be able to hit with runners in scoring position, and neither team was able to do it throughout the series. And just despite what the scores show you, I mean, yesterday was 4-2. I think game 2 was 2-1, and then game 1 was 8-4. I mean, game 1 had 12 runs scored, but still neither team really hit well with runners in scoring position. It was just extra base hits and singles, and neither team really hit for any power. I mean, they hit 3 home runs yesterday, but as a whole throughout the series they didn't really hit for much power. The Brewers hit for more power than the Mets did, but it's a crazy series. The Mets won. The Mets probably are the better team than the Brewers. I've talked about that a few times this week on the show. The Mets are probably the better team than the Brewers, but really neither team stacks up well against the Phillies. The Phillies, again, have one of the deepest rosters in baseball. They have one of the deepest lineups in baseball. They have one of, if not the deepest pitching staff in baseball. The bullpen is the only thing that maybe they don't have the deepest of in baseball, because the Padres probably have a deeper bullpen, or the Guardians, but the Phillies are right up there as far as bullpen goes, especially the back end of the bullpen. Once you think about Jeff Hoffman, Matt Strom, Orion Kerkering, guys like that, and Carlos Estevez at the front of the back end of the bullpen could work. I know I don't like him in the closer role, and I've said as much, I think, in the first episode of this podcast on Monday, but just at the front end of the back of the bullpen, Carlos Estevez could be a viable option, but it's just the Mets nor the Brewers, neither one stacked up well against the Phillies, stack up well against the Phillies. And both offenses struggled against really mid pitching in this series. And so the winner of the series, the Mets, they get rewarded by going on to face the best pitching staff in the sport. That was just a joke that I thought was funny because I made it. And so, but yeah, both offenses struggled against not top tier pitching. I mean, they faced Devin Williams. Edwin Diaz really hasn't been top tier in a long time, but Devin Williams is still top tier, and he struggled in the postseason as a whole, and he struggled again last night. A small sample size for his postseason career. I think it's less than 3 innings over 3 or 4 outings, so small sample size. But he's got like a 22.5 ERA. That was another stat Lindsay had today on the national pod. But the offenses just could not get things together. And when you think about the postseason over the last couple of years, and people liking to blame the 1 week layoff between the regular season and the division series for the top 2 seeds in the playoffs, and blaming that for their team losing, the Mets offense really hasn't done much, and they have still played. They haven't gotten the week off. They're getting 1 day off. They had to play Monday. They played Sunday. They've played every day. They played Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. They played 7 days in a row. They're getting today off. And then they got to go into Philadelphia at Citizens Bank Park in red October and face Zach Wheeler. And it's just, the Phillies have nothing to worry about. I've said it time and time again all week long. The Phillies have nothing to worry about. Even if it was the Brewers, the Phillies would have nothing to worry about. In this series alone, the Mets went a combined 20 for 98 in the wild card round. Only 2 doubles, 1 triple, and 1 home run. 10 walks, 3 hit by pitches. They hit a combined 204, 297, 276 in the series against the Brewers. And again, they're about to move on to face much, much better pitching. Zach Wheeler, Christopher Sanchez, Aaron Nola, Ranger Suarez, Jeff Hoffman, Matt Strom, Ryan Kerkering, Carlos Estevez, Jose Alvarado, Jose Ruiz. Just the list goes on and on of the amount of pitching that the Phillies have. And the Mets have no counter for it because their offense is Francisco Lindor and the boys. With runners in scoring position for the series, they went 9 for 25. 5 for 7 of that was in game 1, and all 5 of those hits were singles. 4 for 18 with runners in scoring position in games 2 and 3. So while they're 9 for 25 over the series might look good, it's still not great because 5 for 7 of that came in game 1. So that kind of skews the numbers a little bit. And all 5 of those hits with runners in scoring position were singles. This year, the Phillies are 7-6 against the New York Mets in the regular season. 7-3 in games started by Wheeler, Nola, Sanchez, or Suarez. 0-3 in games started by Taijuan Walker. So if you take out the starts from Taijuan Walker, the Phillies are 7-3 against the New York Mets. Guess who's not starting in the postseason? Period. Not just not starting in the postseason against the New York Mets. He's not starting in the postseason, period. The Phillies would be absolutely insane to put Taijuan Walker on the postseason roster, much less have him start. The Mets scored 59 runs against the Philadelphia Phillies in 13 games this year for 4.54 runs a game. 26 of those 59 runs came in 4 games that Taijuan Walker pitched in. He came in relief in 1 game and started in 3. So he allowed 12 of those 59 runs. If you take out the 4 games that Taijuan Walker pitched in, not just started, but pitched in, so 9 games between the Phillies and the Mets scored 33 runs, 3.67 runs a game. The Phillies scored 4.84 runs a game for the whole season. They scored more runs a game over the whole season than the Mets did, even if you include the games that Taijuan Walker pitched in. The Phillies scored 69 runs against the Mets in the 13 games, 5.31 runs a game. And again, if you remove the Walker games, the Phillies scored 47 runs in 9 games for 5.22 runs a game. I am going to shout this from the mountaintops. The Phillies have nothing to worry about against the New York Mets. Nothing at all. Not a single thing. It is just absolutely insane to me how much the Philadelphia Phillies are being disrespected on a national and a local level from left and right. Everybody is just counting the Philadelphia Phillies out, and they should not. The Philadelphia Phillies are going to win this series. It is going to absolutely surprise me if this series goes to 4 games because of how mismatched the Phillies and the Mets are. It is just insane to me that people think the Mets have any sort of chance in this series. And I will never understand it. The New York Mets are not a team that can stand up to the Philadelphia Phillies. They're the only team left in the playoffs, period. American League or National League side of the bracket. The only team in the playoffs, period. American League or National League side of the bracket that has any chance against the Phillies is the San Diego Padres. But they don't have a chance against the Phillies because if they match up, they're going to be playing each other in a 7-game series. And in 7 games, the cream rises to the top. Guess what, people? The cream is with the Philadelphia Phillies. The Philadelphia Phillies are the cream. The Philadelphia Phillies are the best team in baseball this season, regardless of regular season record. They only finished behind the Dodgers by 2 or 3 games. The Dodgers play in one of the weakest divisions in the sport, and it is one of the most top-heavy divisions in the sport. You have the Dodgers, the Padres, who are better right now strictly because of injuries and with how hot the Padres have been lately. And then you have the Giants, the Diamondbacks, and the Rockies. Last year was a fluke for the Diamondbacks. The Diamondbacks were given their World Series appearance by Craig Kimbrell. Guess who isn't in the postseason this year? Craig freaking Kimbrell. I don't get it, people. I don't get it. I don't understand. And this isn't biased. This isn't biased because I cover the Phillies or I like the Phillies. This is statistically proven. This is facts. This is 100% guaranteed to be the outcome. The Phillies are making the World Series, and the Phillies will most likely win the World Series. I have been saying that since before the season started because of the roster that the Philadelphia Phillies and Dave Dombrowski has constructed. There's no question. The Phillies have the best roster in baseball. Top to bottom, they have the deepest roster in baseball. I don't know how I can make this any clearer. And if you're listening to this, you are probably a Philadelphia Phillies fan and you understand it. And I hope that you understand my frustration with the situation and with the disrespect that the Phillies are getting and just being counted out left and right. It makes absolutely no sense. None whatsoever. And what is going to make things even sweeter is this is the first time in the history of the postseason that the Philadelphia Phillies and the New York Mets have faced each other ever. And the Philadelphia Phillies get to beat the New York Mets in the postseason. Ain't it great? Ain't it great that the Philadelphia Phillies get to beat the New York Mets in the postseason? They get to send the New York Mets home. The New York Mets will no longer have baseball to play in a few days, thanks to your Philadelphia Phillies. Zach Wheeler, Aaron Nola, Christopher Sanchez, Ranger Suarez, Bryce Harper, Kyle Schwarber, Nick Castellanos, Trey Turner, Alec Bohm, Bryson Stott, Brandon Marsh, Johan Rojas, hopefully, not Austin Hayes. No, not him. Unless it's a left-handed pitcher. He can play against left-handed pitching. He's not a good batter against right-handed pitching. It's the deepest roster in the sport, people. Come on. What are we doing? Seriously. I hope that the Mets announce their pitcher for tomorrow before today. I hope they announce it today. They can't announce it before today because today's already here and they haven't announced it yet. I hope they announce it before today is over because I can't wait to break down how the Phillies have done against whoever is pitching tomorrow for the Mets because it's insane. As a reminder, Zach Wheeler versus the New York Mets this season. 1 start, 8 strikeouts, 7 innings pitched. He allowed 2 runs, 2.57 ERA, 1.143 whip. The Mets hit 259, 286, 407 against Zach Wheeler. And that was regular season Zach Wheeler, who was in contention for the National League Cy Young. They haven't faced postseason Zach Wheeler yet. And they're about to. They're about to understand what postseason Zach Wheeler is about. They're about to understand what Red October is about. So if you're going to one of these games, please be loud. I know I don't have to tell you this, but be loud. Be proud. Wave that red towel with pride because your Philadelphia Phillies are once again in the postseason, the 3rd season in a row. First time the Phillies have won the National League East Division since 2011. 95-win season. They had a slump right there in the middle of it. Probably would have been over 105 wins if it wasn't for that August slump. But they are out of that slump now, ladies and gentlemen. They are out of it. They're back doing what everybody and they mama expected this team to be doing, to be the best team in baseball. I went through most of the roster. I went through what should be the starting lineup. I don't know what else I can do to prove to people that this roster is the best roster in baseball. Hands down. Top to bottom. Deepest roster in baseball. Deepest pitching staff. Deepest bullpen. Deepest lineup. The only bullpens that come close are the Guardians and the Padres. I said that earlier. I'll say it again because it's true. But the Philadelphia Phillies have absolutely nothing, not a damn thing to worry about with the New York Mets in the National League Division Series. It's most likely going to be a sweep, and it might get ugly, especially with the first 2 games coming at Citizens Bank Park in Red October. Good luck to the New York Mets. You're going to need it. This has been Troy on the Philly Faithful Podcast. Give us a 5-star rating on Spotify so this podcast can be shown to more Phillies fans just like you. If you're listening on YouTube or watching on YouTube, give us a like, give us a subscribe so you can be notified when more podcasts, more episodes, just like this one, go live. This one got a little heated. Sorry about that. I'm not. The Phillies are the best. Until next time, I've been Troy. You've been awesome. Peace, love, and rock and roll. I'm out. Bye.